Assalamualaikum everyone. We are students from JBA2514B. We'll talk about the case study Banca, Monte dei Paschi di Siena, also known as MPS Italy 2017. Before we start, allow me to introduce my team members. First, Ahmad SAFWAN, me, AIMAN HAFIZ, then SHAZLYN NATSUMI, next NURFARAH and also the last one SHAHIRA HAMIZA. In this presentation, we are going to talk about first, the introduction, second, the media coverage of the financial crisis, third, the financial risk factor and the causes of the risk, next, strategies adopted to address the crisis, next, recommendation for better financial risk management, and last but not least, our conclusion of this case study.
My name is SHAZLYN BINTI NASIR, and today I will be giving an overview of Banca Monte dei Paschi di Siena, which is MPS. MPS was founded in 1472 in Siena, Italy. MPS is the world's oldest surviving bank. It began as a charitable lender to support the poor and later grew into a symbol of traditional Italian banking. MPS operated as a universal bank, mainly focusing on retail banking. It offered accounts, loans, mortgage, and cards to individuals, while also supporting small and medium businesses through loans and trade finance. However, the bank remained largely dependent on the Italian market with the limited global expansions. Its downfall began in 2007 when it acquired Banca Anton Veneta for around Euro 9 billion, an overpriced deal. Soon after, the global financial crisis exposed hidden losses. MPS used secret derivative deals like Santorini and Alexandria to conceal its financial troubles. Weak risk controls and fraud changes further worsened. The crisis leading to a major collapse by 2017.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Ahmad SAFWAN. So I will talk about media coverage of financial crisis. Firstly is early warning and hidden losses. MPS has made a legal agreement with Nomura and Deutsche Bank with deal to hide to major losses from 2007. So the case exposed the weak regulatory oversight, poor management practice, a serious lack of transparency in Europe banking system. And the second one, ECB stress. We can see the MPS was the named weakest bank in Europe with a 8.8 billion capital shortfall and a CET1 ratio of negative 2.2 caused by the bad loan. So the government has launched a 20 billion rescue to stabilize the bank. The third one is government bailout and nationalization. In 2017, the Euro approved the 5.4 billion bailout for MPS after fail, and the rescue plan to convert the junior bond to share 3.9 billion in government support and selling 26 billion in a bad loan. And the last one is legal action against executive. Three former MPS executive is a commission from 2020. We are reserved in 2023, which is less the bank's financial and legal strain, and the MPS misclassified the poor loan before the is poor loan is 2017 rescue to prompt further investigation in 2034 until 2025 is the effect for the four former executives are currently on the trial demonstrate to present the problem.
Okay, now let's talk about the financial risk factor and the cause of this crisis. Here, I will break down to three types of risk. First, the credit risk, second, market risk, and lastly is the operational risk. Okay, now let's talk about the credit risk. Okay, MPS credit risk meltdown come from two disasters. First, its non-performing loans hit 34.8% in 2015, which is the Italy worst after a reckless SME lending and also slow debt recovery. Second, the 2007 Antonita acquisition. MPS overpaid by 6 billion, borrowing heavily just before the 2008 crash. This double blow drained capital, forcing a 5.4 billion bailout. Lesson: even a 500 years old bank fail when the credit risks are ignored. Now, let's talk about the market risk. MPS played with fire. Derivative like Santorini and Alexandria hit 500 million losses, while overloading and Italian bonds backfired when the yield spiked. By 2016, the ECB stress exposed a negative 2.23% capital ratio, the worst in Europe. The result? Nationalization. Derivative and sovereign debt gambles can turn a bank into a time bomb. Now, the last one, operational risk. MPS culture was rotten. Executive hit losses, the bank's leadership was controlled by the politician, and retail investor was scammed into a risky bonds. Courts convinced leaders in 2010-20 after the overturn, but trust was gone. The cost, 1.5 billion in composition and a broken reputation. Weak governance plus with fraud equal to collapses of an institution.
I will continue by presenting about the strategies adopted to address the crisis faced by Banca Monte de Paschi di Siena, also known as MPS. This bank crisis became one of the worst in Europe due to the poor decision, hidden losses from derivative, and high levels of bad loans. Let's go through the key strategies used to save the bank. The first one is capital strengthening initiative. In 2013, MPS was in deep financial trouble and launched a recapitalization plan to raise 5 billion by issuing new shares. However, investor confidence was still low. To avoid collapse, the Italian government stepped in with Monte bonds, a special type of bond that was later converted into a bank share. This recapitalization gave the bank more time to fix its problem, but showed how serious the situation had become. At the temporarily, but it also showed how badly the bank was struggling. Alright, the next one is state intervention and nationalization. By 2017, MPS could no longer attract private investors. The Italian government acted more decisively by injecting 5.4 billion euros through a precautionary recapitalization. In return, the government took 70% ownership, making MPS a state-owned bank. This nationalization helped protect customer savings and stabilize the banking system, although junior bondholders had to share some losses as required by EU rules. The third one is non-performing loan disposal strategy. A major issue from MPS was its large amount of non-performing loans. In 2018, the bank transferred over 24 billion euros of this loan to AMCO, a government-owned company. This move cleaned up the bank's balance sheet, reduced its risk, and helped it meet regulatory requirements, marking an important step towards recovery. The last one is strategic restructuring and digital reform. To meet a bailout condition, MPS restructured its operation from 2018 to 2021. It closed over 600 branches, reduced its workforce by 5,500 employees, and invested in digital banking services. These efforts cut costs and improve efficiency, allowing the bank to modernize and slowly regain stability. To conclude, MPS survived one of the worst banking crises in Europe by strengthening its capital, receiving state support, reducing bad loans, and restructuring and going digital. These cases show how government actions, financial reform, and risk control are crucial in helping a troubled bank recover and regain stability. That's all from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum. My name is NURFARAH binti YUSMAN, and now I'm going to present about recommendations for better financial risk management. So for 5.1, which is strengthening due diligence in mergers and acquisitions. So in mergers and acquisitions, strong due diligence is key to managing financial risk. First, ensure regulatory and compliance review are done to avoid liabilities. This includes checking AML policies, monetary rules, licenses, and any legal proceedings. Next, evaluate financial stability through proper valuation and financial statement analysis. Use scenario analysis to understand how macroeconomic shift might impact the businesses. After the deal, it's critical to monitor post-acquisition risk consistently to safeguard value. Support the process with risk management software and insights from expert consultants. Ultimately, through the diligence, boost compliance and sets the foundation for a successful transactions. So, for 5.2, which is improving transparency in derivatives trading, the EU is enhancing derivatives market transparency to strengthen integrity and build investor trust. New rules enforce stricter reporting for all derivatives through registered trade repositories. The introduction of unique product identifiers and standardized data improves systemic risk monitoring. However, there's a need to balance transparency with market liquidity, ensuring disclosure doesn't disrupt trading activity. Overall, these reforms aims to make the EU derivatives market more transparent, resilient, and stable. So for 5.3, enhancing regulatory stress testing. The EU, in collaboration with the EBA, ECB, and ESRB, is strengthening stress testing to ensure bank resilience. It uses a bottom-up approach with adverse macroeconomic scenarios to test risks like credit, market, operational, and income volatility. The process is a joint effort with national authorities to ensure consistency. It supports early risk detection, guides supervisions, and enhance market transparency. Future plans, including expanding to hedge funds and private equity with better scenario designed for long-term financial stability. Next, 5.4. Early intervention by banking supervisors. So supervisors in the EU closely monitor banks, finance, and strategies to detect early warning signs of trouble. Recent legal reforms have streamlined intervention tools and given the ECB stronger authority to act quickly. Coordination with resolution authorities ensures smooth crisis response when needed. These stronger tools mean faster action, fewer failures, and less reliance on bailouts, reinforcing the EU's commitment to robust banking supervision under the banking union. Lastly, for 5.5, is reducing political influence in banking decisions. So, the centralized supervision of key banks by the ECB helps limit national political interference. At the same time, the ECB ensures accountability by reporting regularly to the European Parliament and Councils. With strong legal and institutional safeguards, supervision remains independent, credible, and impartial. These efforts boost financial stability and reinforce trust in the EU banking system. That's all from me. I will pass to the next presenter.
I will present to you the conclusion, which is the lesson from the MPS collapse. In conclusion, the fall of MPS reminds us that even a long-standing history cannot protect a bank from failure without strong governance and responsible management. The crisis was driven by risky acquisitions, poor lending practices, and weak internal controls. The bank delayed response to financial trouble eventually led to a government bailout. This case highlights the importance of transparency, due diligence, and leadership accountability in maintaining trust and financial stability. And at the EU level, the MPS crisis prompted stricter banking regulations, more robust stress tests, and reduced political interference in financial decision-making. These changes aim to restore transparency, stability, and public confidence in the European banking system in Italy. The crisis damaged the reputations of banking sector. Other banks were forced to reduce bad loans, improve their capital strength, and enhance internal operations. The case also drew attention to the financial burden placed on taxpayers during such bailouts. That's all from me. Thank you.